Do I look happy? This is not my happy face. And probably because I'm stupid enough to say okay when it's like -1 to 0 today. Hence coveralls. I'm replacing the power steering pump on my buddy's C240. This is my old C240, which I sold him 4 years ago, and it hasn't had a bath or a vacuum since. Nothing. Nothing. Winter tires put on, winter tires pulled off, oil changes, drive it till it dies. Yeah, whatever. Not my issue. Changing the power steering pump. Back in 1 second. I'm going to start it so you can hear it. The power steering pump is screaming. It's not from a lack of fluid. You can actually see that it's not actually, when you pull the cap off the power steering fluid reservoir, you can see the fluid's not really moving around in there. So I told him you're not driving it until I replace it, and I guess today's my day. This is going to pertain to the M112 and M113 V6 and V8. Million variations of both, essentially the same part, same bolts, same almost everything. There will be a couple of little different things like air filter, engine cover, and things like that, because different engines, the exact same engine will have a different air filter and engine cover. It's just the way Mercedes did it. So anyway, I'm going to start it up and you'll be able to hear that. Okay, that's not slipping belts, that is power steering pump toasty. And if you ever want to check different parts of your engine, see where the noise is coming from, I took a long screwdriver. I can't find my stethoscope. But you just take a long screwdriver or anything long and metal, even wood, like really long, put it up against the part that you want to listen to, and then stick the other end to your ear, and you'll hear the noise. Move the other tip around and keep listening. And it acts like a stethoscope, and you'll hear where the sound is coming from. And on this one, it was coming only from the body of the pump, not the reservoir, not the belt, not anything else. So I'm going to pull this engine cover off of this and the air filter cover, or air filter hoses, and back in a second. Okay, just sucking up the last bit of fluid out of the reservoir. Don't forget to cover your air intake, your throttle body intake, especially if you're working like me out in the leaves coming down. Oop, found some more. Every drop that you get out is not going to drip all over the engine. Not that this guy cares. Me, I care. He doesn't care. Okay, so I'm going to put the cap back on and put this away and be back in a sec. Okay, now we're going to take off the low pressure return hose, and remember that this sucker, well, it takes a flathead or a 7mm. Oh, it's smaller flathead than this one. Yep, back in 1 sec. My bolt put inside the hose to keep it from dripping once I get this off. And a rag to keep from spilling too much. Where's my bolt? So there's the bolt in the end of the hose, and let's just move this out of the way over here. Very, very little drippy. Good. Oh. Okay, so this rag is giving off fluff. I'm going to get some real shop towels. I don't want fluff getting anywhere inside of a pump. Anyway, and the next bolt we take off is that one down there. I think it's a T8 or T10, a Torx-headed bolt. Or sorry, E8 or E10. Let's get that backwards. So it's a Torx-headed. That's an E10. Let's check that. And it is E10. So I'm going to get a wrench and be back in 1 second. I'm going to socket. Okay, so we're going to take that bolt off now. It should not be very tight at all, at 10 foot-pounds. So even if you don't have a Torx set, you can get away, most likely, I'm not recommending it, with a regular socket head on top of that. It will fit over, but if you're putting anything in really tight, not a very good idea. You can't torque them too high with it, but the 10-15 pounds that these ones are on should be okay. So now on the back of the reservoir here, I'll grab the screwdriver. There's a little Jesus clip, a little C clip. I don't know if you can see that. Let me put it down a little bit. Right here, where the screwdriver is touching, there's a C clip that holds. I'm going to get a smaller screwdriver. The clip goes in and holds the fluid reservoir onto the pump. So you're just going to get this in here and pop the clip straight out toward you. I wonder if I can grab that with pliers. I just don't want it to go shooting off over the garage, under the garage, wherever, and me not find it ever again. Okay, I'm going to grab some curved needle nose and be back in a second. I'm going to grab it with needle nose instead. Okay, so I've got needle nose pliers on it, and I'm going to try and pry it out with the screwdriver and hold it with the needle nose so I don't lose it. And it's a fit fiddly. Come on, you. Trust me, it comes straight out. But if it's never been off, it's never been off. And it's not happily coming out. Sorry if I get in your way. There we go. Trying to work around the camera, sometimes you cannot get the best leverage on stuff. So there you go. One C-clip. Reservoir. Okay, can you see that? You look in the camera. Okay, I hope you can see that. It's coming off and there's going to be some spillage. Let's get our... oh crap, putting this back under. I forgot to grab a shop towel. Not much spillage though, because we did empty the reservoir. Okay, I'm I'm going to let that drain on there for a minute and clean out this reservoir from all the old gunky fluid. Dump it into an old oil bottle and clean this off, and I'll be back in a minute. This is just going to drip down onto that cloth. Okay, so now we're going to take the belt off the pulley. 15mm deep socket. Socket might be in front of you for a sec. Onto the tensioner. See the tensioner rotating. You want to rotate it so it's looser. And slide the belt off the tensioner pulley. Pull your socket off. Oh, almost forgot. There's a little seal inside the reservoir there. It goes around that connector into the reservoir. Make sure you don't lose that. This one is good. It's not. I don't have another one. I thought it came with the water pump kit. Didn't. So don't want to have to, but have to reuse this. This is a Sunday. There's no way to get another part. So 99.9% sure that's going to be okay. Fingers crossed. If not, I'll be pulling the reservoir out and replacing the seal for him. And I'm going to let that drip a little bit more, and then we're going to get to the pump bolts. In order for you to see, I think I'm going to move this hose, the upper rad hose. Should be able to get that down. Well, not really, but I will be able to move it when I need to. Okay, sorry the sniffles. It's 0, -1. Back in, probably 5 minutes. Okay, now taking the bolts off from the inner part. There's one here, where my finger's touching right there. See that one? And the one down below that I'm pointing to. Not that one in the middle. That one's not part. There's a little cutout in that, but that's not part. We're not taking that off. The one below that the pulley is in front of. And you're just going to have to stick the extension back on the pulley and rotate the pulley out of the way, hold it there, and take the bolt out. There's no way I can do that on camera with you guys watching. I just tried 3 or 4 times, and I can't do it with both arms in there and you actually seeing anything. So this bolt and the bolt down there, those two are what I'm taking out. So I'll take those out and be back in 1 second. Okay, so I've got those 2 bolts loosened. I'm going to reach in there and pull them out with you watching. This is barely doable. Keep track of these bolts. If I'm not mistaken, they are longer than the ones on the back. They should be the same size. They are. Let the tensioner go back. Okay, so these are the 2 front bolts, and these are E12s, not E10s anymore. The E10 was the one for the front of the pump reservoir. These are E12s. The ones on the back, I'm not sure. So there's the one that held the pump reservoir in. That's the E10. And these are E12s on the front. So on the back, this is not going to be possible to even show you. Here, where I'm pointing, right there, there's a ground strap that goes to the body. That is one bolt straight in front of my finger. See if I get light in there. Let me see. I either have light or camera. Not both, apparently. Maybe a little bit of light. I'll point with the screwdriver. That is the second bolt, right at the tip of the screwdriver, and the third one is up there about 2 inches above that. They are accessible, you just can't see them. I can stick you down in here if you really want to see it that bad. Should be in there somewhere. And hopefully you'll figure it out. 22 millimeters wrench. Before you take all these off, take a 22 and loosen the bolt, the high pressure banjo bolt on the fuel line, or the line, so you're not trying to wrestle with that if this is tight. I don't even remember if I loosened this or not. The weather's been on and off here all day, snowing at times, not snowing at others, so I'm trying to film in between snow. No, I don't think I loosened it. Okay, so now it's loose. I'm just going to snug it back up so no leaks come out. But I won't have to wrestle with it when it's unbolted from the car. So those 3 bolts, one, bottom one, and then the top one in the back. Those are the last 3. Oh, is there one more? Shoot. I think there's one more. Crap, there may be one more in the front. Right there. Underneath that banjo bolt. I just saw it. I did one of these pumps many years ago, and I don't remember how many bolts. I'm already a couple of bolts more than I thought it was. I remembered there being 4. I guess I'm wrong. Whatever, what can you do? But I believe accessing through one of the holes in the pump. I'll find out and let you know. But for now, I'm going to take those 3 off the back in a bit. I don't know if you can see in there at all. My wrench is on the end of... No, probably not. Oh. Yeah, it's tight. The air conditioning line is really, really in a bad spot here. But they're doable. They're just tight and take a while, and I can't film it at all. But you can see that one bolt down there, hopefully, at the end of my wrench, right there. And then there's 1 2 inches above that. There's no way you're going to be able to see. Anyway, I've already got the ground strap one out, and the other 2 are okay. Just taking out the top and the last of the back bolts. Hopefully I'm not in your way. I can't see if I am or not. That's the last one holding the pump on. It's essentially about an hour to a 2-hour job, depending on how, just taking your time. 4 hours if you're filming. Maybe 3 hours if you're filming. I've got it loosened, it's just very hard to grab that top bolt in the back. There we go. I think it's coming. Get my electric ratchet back there, that would make things much quicker, but sometimes there's no space. Okay, so I'm just unloosening that back bolt. It's probably got about another ½ inch to come out. You probably don't want to see me struggle with a bolt. Ooh, you can actually see it there. Right there. That's the bolt that I'm taking out. So, like I said, it's almost all the way out. Well, let's just give it 2 more seconds. My hands are too filthy to turn off the camera. 2 back bolts. Got 3 on the back. This one small one is for the ground strap. The 2 longer ones are for the back pump bracket, and they are shorter than the front ones, so make sure you don't get them mixed up. Now I'm just going to pull off that high pressure hose. And this is why we loosened it from the beginning, because we don't want to be wrestling and trying to hold that. I'm trying to take off a large bolt. Let me get a shop rag. I don't want to grab this with a lint covered rag once it comes out. Oh, I heard a banjo washer go down. There should be a washer on this side and on this side. And I heard the other one fall. Beautiful. I'm going to tuck this out of the way for a second, cover it up in that rag, pull the pump out. And there she be. I thought there might have been one more bolt in the front, but I guess there is not. No, not on this one. Oh, God, I see that washer down there. Little crush washer. I'm going to fish that out and be back in a minute. I'm going to put this whole thing back together. Okay, this is taking way longer than it should. Never-ending barrage of neighbors coming by and people coming by to say hi and offering beers and stuff, which is good, but at the same time, you just want to get finished. Anyway, change gloves for clean ones because we're going to put the new pump in. You don't need to see all the bolts. I'm going to put the bolts in. Blue thread lock I've reapplied to all these bolts because they did have thread locker from the beginning. Remember, the longer ones are in the front, the shorter ones are in back. The little tiny one is for the ground strap, and then the little tiny one is for in here. So I'll come back when we're putting this back together, when we're putting the reservoir back on and hooking the lines up. So I'm just going to put all the bolts back in. There's no reason to see that and watch that. I'll just put it back in. Anyway, here's the old pump if you want to see it. It does have a bit of a crunchy sound. Ugh, I just spilled some fluid. You can only hear it sometimes. But that was that squealing sound. Anyway, that's done. The bearing in that is toast. So I'm going to put this on and we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, just about forgot. When I went to put this new one in, I'm going, wait a minute, I am forgetting something. This mounting bracket has to come off. There are 2, that's what I was remembering, going through here, through these holes in the pump. These are Torx bits. They are T40 if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's a T40. So I have to take these 2 bolts off of the old pump, and then they mount inside on those 2 bolts on the new pump. By the way, when you're putting the new pump in, leave the caps on so you don't get anything in there to contaminate them. So you can see the 2 side by side. This bracket here has got to come off, those 2 T40 bolts, T40 bit bolts. Anyway, I'm going to take those off, transfer it over to the new pump, and then we'll be back. Okay, so here's the new bracket being put on the new, old bracket being put on the new pump. Remember, there's 2 little washers that go in between the bracket and the pump body. And I'm just going to tighten this. Oops. Helps to tighten. Sorry, floppy camera. I'm just going to run both of these in and then tighten them down to about 25 foot-pounds. So anyway, once those are tightened, I'm going to put this whole pump back in and like I said, be back in a few minutes. Okay, I figured I better go over this because this is pretty important. If you've had a power steering pump problem, you probably have air in your system. I'm panting a little bit because I just did what I'm going to tell you to do, which is jack up the front of the car, make sure the side where your power steering pump reservoir is slightly higher than the other side. Engine off, turn your key on, don't start the car, turn the steering wheel left and right, lock to lock 30 times. That will pump any remaining air out of the system. You cannot do it when the car is running. You might wreck the pump, you might wreck the steering rack. Do it with the car off. I'm panting because I did it with one tire on the ground, the other tire up. Because I'm too damn lazy to go get the second jack out of the back. It's all buried. So anyway, give me a few minutes to put the rest of the engine back together, and then we will check the reservoir and start the car. Well, I've been cranking the wheel back and forth I did jack up the other side because I got pretty damn tired. For about an hour now. I'm gonna kill this guy. He just tells me that it's been running. The power steering pump has been making that noise for about a month. So his rack could be completely chowdered. The amount of fluid that is popping out, the amount of bubbles I've gotten out of this system, going lock to lock, lock to lock, lock to lock, like 30, 60 times, starting the car a little bit better, but still we're getting some bubbling in there. I said before something about .3 and .4 fluid. My brain went completely to brakes because, whatever, my brain's mush. Mercedes power steering fluid is synthetic and it's a special power steering fluid. Make sure you get the right stuff. Where's the bottle that I just chucked in the garbage? This is an OEM brand, but made for Mercedes, VW, Audi, Porsche. And it's a synthetic power steering fluid. Hopefully I don't need any more because I don't have any more. I'm just going to keep pumping this back and forth until I get all the air bled out of the system. You can see this battering. And I don't know if you can see the little bit of bubbling there. But I'm going to turn the wheel lock to lock again, and we'll see if another bubble comes out. This is what happens when you just let stuff go and don't bother to repair it on time and end up causing yourself a hell of a lot more grief. I've gone back and forth a couple of times. Let's see if there's any more air bubbles coming out. I don't see any. I'm going to do it another 30 times just to be sure, because I don't want to be sitting here all night. Because it's dark now. I don't know if you can see it, but there's still bubbling coming up in through there. See little bubbles popping. Another 30 times. Just got to keep going until there's no bubbles. Okay, quickie, the squealing's gone. I've got most of the air bled out of the system, but not all of it. I do not have, just been bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. And I do not have any more Mercedes power steering fluid. The reservoir is only about half full now, so there's no way I'm going to try and introduce any more air. It took a long time to get the air out. A long, long time. Probably about 600 turns back to back. Back and forth. It just kept bleeding and bleeding. But if it was like that for a few weeks, air got down into the rack and it was not coming out, not easily anyway. It might have helped if I jacked this side up a little higher than it is, maybe. Air follows goes to the highest point. I did jack it up, but not, probably could have put it a little bit higher. But anyway, power steering pump is all done and in, and yeah, that was a fun one. So it's on hold till tomorrow until I can get some more fluid. I'm not, like I said, I'm not risking doing it with regular fluid. So anyway, thanks for watching.